I'm Stuart Ayling. In this episode, I'm speaking with Nerissa Chaux, and Nerissa is Head of Happiness and co-founder at Filter. In this episode, I'll be asking Nerissa, when should a company consider using an offshore team? Well, I'm here now with Nerissa Chaux, and Nerissa is a co-founder and Head of Happiness at Filter, and her focus is on helping Australian businesses build and manage local and offshore teams that actually work. So thanks for being here today, Nerissa.
Thanks so much for having me, Stuart.
That's okay, my pleasure. This is an interesting area for many businesses because they hear about offshoring and outsourcing, and there's all sorts of different options. Before we actually get into the topic of today, which is all about when should a business consider offshoring, can you give me just a really brief explanation of what is offshoring?
It's an excellent question, Stuart, because a lot of people get confused. They equate offshoring to outsourcing. So let me just cover both of those.
Yep.
First of all, outsourcing is normally when you're outsourcing a project or a task or a job function, and you don't know who the other person is on the end. So one day you might get Jane, the next day you might get Tom. So they don't actually work for you, if that makes sense. And then the offshoring is a much more personalised and I believe more effective for Aussie small businesses, as it's a 40-hour-a-week solution based in an office environment. They're hired specifically for your business, and you have complete say about who joins your team. And you have complete say about training, workflow processes, and essentially they are an employee of yours. They're just in a different country.
Okay, that sounds like a lot sort of more manageable process than in the past. I've seen other businesses and heard many people talk about the whole process, and it seems like it's something very distant that you don't really have a lot of control over. But I like what you're saying there. So that's good. That's good. So look, the first thing I wanted to check with you is, when should a business actually consider offshoring? What are the triggers that a business owner should be recognizing and starting to think, oh, maybe offshoring could help me?
Yeah, excellent question. I think it's a variety of reasons, and one of those is space management. So to give you an example, I caught up with a gentleman last week. It's a medium-sized business, and literally they're looking at offshoring because they cannot physically fit any more local staff in their office. And when they've been investigating office space, additional office space, it's just too cost prohibited. So space management, I think the obvious one is staffing costs. But with staffing costs, people often think they have to sacrifice quality for a reduced salary, which I don't believe is the case. And just people resources. So that's pretty much what I think are the main triggers, that when businesses are looking at their strategy and their people strategy and what they're going to do for growth, and also profit margins. Profit margins can get smaller. So people need to look at creative and different ways where they can still have a business in 5, 10, 50 years.
Yeah, yep, gotcha. Okay, so it really should be part of that consideration for growth planning. As you say, there's lots of different aspects to consider. As a business owner, if I was expanding my team and I'm looking at my office space and I'm looking at, well, we need to do more. How do we make all this happen? What's the best way to do it? What sort of jobs or what sort of positions are really best for offshoring, and why do you think those sorts of positions are best to offshore versus ones that aren't?
Okay, it's a good question. So I believe that, and in my experience, the corporate back end are absolutely exceptional places to look at first. So that is in the accounting arena. That would be administration, PAs, legal, paralegals, legal assistants, construction, even with draftsmen, estimators, HR, so HR administrators, even recruiters. And I'd say definitely, without a doubt, developers. So all types of development and creative design and marketing.
Sorry,
so
Nerissa, when you say developers, you're meaning software developers?
Yes, my apologies, software developers. IT support. So there's a whole range of functions that you can look at. I think also what you need to be very mindful of is, in my experience, and I think when you're talking to Australian customers, is client-facing, customer service-facing roles, I believe, should be still based locally, because people learn to buy off people. And it's no disrespect to the resources in other countries that are in, customer facing or sales lead roles. But I think Aussies like to deal with each other, and I think that's really important to keep that here. I also think that any strategy or team lead roles should be based in Australia. So I think when you're looking at it, when you're looking at your people and how your business is structured, I think what's really important is to understand what needs to be based here and what can we look at offshoring. And not every job should be offshored, and sometimes not every job should be full-time. Not every job in Australia should be could be permanent part-time, it could be contracting, it could be hiring a freelancer for a specific project. So I think you really need to look at and talk to people who can give you the best strategy and what's best for your business.
Okay, and really start the thinking there with those administrative office or sort of internally focused roles, more so than the customer facing roles. That's really the best way to approach it.
Yes, in my opinion and in my experience, and having been involved in the offshoring and the local recruitment industry for quite a while, I definitely think that's the best approach.
Okay, excellent. Well, look, we're nearly out of time, but I've got one more question I want to ask during this episode. Yeah, time goes really quick. Look, what are the basic steps? If someone's thinking about offshoring, what are the basic steps? Can you sort of list them off by saying, oh, look, you've got to do this, 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 and this? What should a company be doing?
Yep. First of all, I think you need to be open and think laterally and creatively about what are the best solutions. So I think you have to have the right mindset about what people's solution best suits your business. Secondly, I've got quite a lot. Actually, I've got a massive list.
Well, just keep it short if you can.
Yeah, okay. I think you need to understand what you can, like we just talked about, what you can offshore and get the best benefits, and what isn't going to be effective for your business. I think you need to have a full understanding of the job tasks and the job role and what success and failure looks like in that role when you're offshoring, because, in terms of the Philippines, that's 6,000 kilometers away, and distance can create issues. So it's really important to understand not only yourself and your team, but also your offshore member, exactly what the expectations are. And lastly, which I think is extremely critical, is the offshoring partner that you decide to work with. It definitely shouldn't be a tick and flick, bum on seat approach. I would be assessing their capabilities, their infrastructure, where they're based, because that has a lot to do with attracting talent in the Philippines. What support they're going to offer you and your team, and also what benefits and retention strategies do they have in place for their Manila staff. So those are the things that I would be definitely considering.
Okay, excellent. So there's certainly a few important topics that a business owner or a management team should be considering when they're looking at offshoring. And it sounds like they certainly need someone with your sort of experience to help them consider that, so that they're making the right decisions and not sort of jumping to the wrong conclusions or maybe not thinking deeply enough about it. So that's really great. Appreciate you sharing your insights, Nerissa.
Thanks, Stuart.
Okay, look forward to seeing you another time.
All right. Thank you so much.